Eleanor Whitman waited for her fiancé Robert at Chicago Union Station. Robert was supposed to go to Los Angeles for business in 1925, but his train never arrived. When Eleanor died in 1973, she was still waiting for Robert. And Robert is still on that train, frozen in 1925, waiting for Eleanor. Before we dive into this story, make sure to hit that subscribe button, because what I'm about to tell you will show you just how mysterious love and time really are. This isn't just a love story. This is the story of the moment when time cracked and a train became trapped in infinity. October 15th, 1925, Thursday morning. The Grand Hall of Chicago Union Station was filled with passengers in the early morning hours. Steam locomotive whistles were blowing. Conductors were making their final calls. Eleanor Whitman, 23 years old, was a beautiful young woman. With her white silk gloves, dark blue hat, and pearl necklace, she appeared to be the perfect lady of the era. But her eyes were worried. Robert Hamilton, 28 years old, was a handsome businessman. His black suit was pressed, his tie straight, his hair slicked back with pomade. He held a leather suitcase and his ticket for the Continental Express. "I'll return as soon as my business in Los Angeles is finished," Robert said, holding Eleanor's hands. "A week at most, maybe less." Eleanor tried to smile. "I know, darling. But I have a strange feeling in my heart, as if something will go wrong." Robert moved closer to her. "Nonsense. This is just a routine business trip. The company is opening a new office in Los Angeles. I'll be the manager there. When I return, we'll finalize our wedding date." In those days, long-distance travel by train was normal. Air travel wasn't yet common. The journey from Chicago to Los Angeles on the Continental Express took approximately 40 hours. The conductor's final call echoed, "Continental Express." Los Angeles, San Bernardino, Pasadena, all passengers board. Robert kissed Eleanor. "I love you," he said. "I'll write every day." Eleanor tried to hold back her tears. "I love you too. Be careful." Robert climbed the steps of the car, waving to Eleanor. The train slowly began to move. Eleanor ran alongside the train until the platform ended. It was exactly 2:30 p.m. The next morning, Eleanor went to the telegraph office. She was expecting news from Robert, but there were no telegrams. The second day was the same. So was the third. Eleanor began to worry. Robert always kept his word. If he had arrived in Los Angeles, he would definitely have sent word. On the fourth day, Eleanor went to the Chicago Pacific Railway Company office. With her cardboard hat, black gloves, and formal dress, she looked like a serious lady of the era. "I'd like information about the Continental Express," she told the clerk at the desk. "The October 15th departure, my fiancé was on that train." The clerk was an elderly man with thick glasses. He shuffled through the records. "October 15th, Continental Express," he muttered. "Strange. This departure isn't in the records." "What do you mean it's not in the records?" "I mean, the train departed, but there's no arrival record. Not in Los Angeles, not at intermediate stations." Eleanor's heart sank. "How is this possible?" The clerk shrugged. "Sometimes records get lost. Maybe the train arrived late. I'll check again tomorrow." The following week, Eleanor went to the railway office every day. Each time she received the same answer: "No news yet." 2 weeks later, an official statement came. "Continental Express, October 15th, departure missing, along with 47 passengers and crew. Search efforts continue." The search efforts lasted 2 months. Every inch along the railway was searched. No wreckage was found. There was no trace. The train seemed to have vanished from the earth. Eleanor went to the telegraph office every day, to the railway company every day. Her blue eyes grew a little more faded each day, her face a little more worried. "Maybe the train diverted to a different route," she said hopefully. "Maybe Robert is stranded in another city." But months passed, then years. 1926, 1927, 1928. Eleanor was still waiting, every day in the same place, in the Grand Hall of Union Station at 2:30 p.m., as if Robert could arrive at any moment. In 1928, strange reports began to arrive. Railway workers were seeing odd things. James Murphy was a track maintenance worker with 15 years of experience. On a cold February morning, while working on the track west of Chicago, he saw something strange. A train was coming, Murphy said in his report to the company. An old model steam locomotive. It said Continental Express. But that track isn't used anymore. Plus, there was something odd about the train. "Like what?" asked the inspector. "It seemed like a ghost, semi-transparent, but it had sound. I heard its whistle. And as it passed, I saw the passengers inside. They were all dressed in 1920s clothing." The inspector didn't take Murphy seriously, but similar reports kept coming. Thomas Wright, another track worker, had seen the same train in March. "The train passed quickly," he said, "but the strangest part was this. The clocks in the cars all showed the same time. 3:15. Charlie Davis, a station guard, said he saw the train at night. It passed at midnight, but the cars still had daylight inside. The people inside were acting as if they were traveling in the afternoon. In 1930, Eleanor heard these reports. She had been waiting for Robert for 5 years. She was 28 now, but still waited with the same hope, the same devotion. Eleanor decided to find the railway workers. When she found James Murphy, the man didn't want to take her seriously. "Ma'am," Murphy said, removing his hat, "this is a very dangerous subject. The company doesn't want us talking about such things." "Please," Eleanor said. "My fiancé is on that train, Robert Hamilton. Do you know him?" Murphy's face changed. "Robert Hamilton? Black-haired, handsome young man?" Eleanor's heart raced. "Yes. Did you see him?" "I see him," Murphy said slowly. "I see him every week. He always sits in the same place, looking out the window as if he's searching for someone." Murphy took Eleanor to the old railway track. It was a track section 30 miles west of Chicago, no longer in use. "He comes every day at 3:15, Murphy said, visible for exactly 3 minutes, then disappears. Eleanor's heart was pounding as she waited. She was 28, but still loved Robert like she had at 23. For 5 years she hadn't looked at anyone else, had refused marriage proposals. At 3:14, a whistle sound came from the distance, then a strange vibration on the tracks, and then Eleanor saw it. Like a ghost, semi-transparent but very real. The Continental Express train was approaching. Steam coming out, wheel sounds audible. But something was wrong. The train seemed outside of time, moving but not advancing, as if staying in the same place. When Eleanor saw Robert, her breath caught. He was sitting by the window, same suit, same hairstyle. He looked 5 years younger. Robert saw Eleanor too. He stood up, ran to the window. He opened his mouth, tried to say something, but no sound came out. 3 minutes. The train stayed there for 3 minutes. Robert tried to open the window, reached his hands toward Eleanor, but he couldn't reach. Then the train disappeared. Suddenly, as if it had never been there. Eleanor collapsed to the ground. She began to cry. Robert was there. He was alive, but unreachable. Eleanor began researching to understand this phenomenon. The libraries of the 1930s were limited, but she was determined. She read old newspapers at the Chicago Library. She went through the archives from 1925. There, she found a strange news item. Mysterious electromagnetic experiment. October 15, 1925, the University of Chicago Physics Department conducted electromagnetic field experiments along the railway line. The team, led by Professor Dr. Marcus Webb, is researching the relationship between time and space. Eleanor decided to find Professor Webb. She went to the University of Chicago. Professor Webb was a man in his 60s, bearded, with glasses. He received Eleanor in his office. "Professor Webb," Eleanor said, "you conducted an electromagnetic experiment in 1925. Does it have any connection to the disappearance of the Continental Express train?" Webb's face changed. "We shouldn't discuss this subject, madam. My fiancé was on that train. Please." Webb thought for a long time. Then he locked the door. "Don't tell anyone what I'm about to tell you," he said. Professor Webb told Eleanor the shocking truth. "In 1925, we were conducting experiments related to time," he said. "Einstein's theory of relativity had just been published. We were testing whether time could be bent." "What did you do?" "We installed powerful electromagnetic coils along the railway track. We passed very high-voltage electricity through them. The aim was to create a small time distortion." Eleanor held her breath. "And what happened?" "Something we couldn't calculate happened. The Continental Express was passing through that track at that exact moment. The electromagnetic field created a time loop around the train." Webb continued. "The train became trapped in a 3-hour time tunnel. It departs at 2:30, ends at 5:30. Then it becomes 2:30 again, an infinite loop." "What about the passengers?" "For them, time never passes. They're still living in 1925, having the same conversations, eating the same meal. They don't even notice." Eleanor was horrified. "How does this stop?" Webb shook his head. "I don't know. Maybe it never stops." Eleanor began going to the old railway track every day after that. She watched the train at 3:15 p.m. Robert was always there, always in the same place, same position. When he saw Eleanor, he would stand up, run to the window, try to talk to her. But they could never reach each other. Once Eleanor tried to communicate using Morse code. She gave signals using her hands. Robert understood and tried to respond. "WAIT," Robert said. "I love you." Eleanor responded through tears. "ILOVEYOUTOO." This became their daily ritual. Every day for 3 minutes. She never missed it for 5 years. Years passed. 1940, 1950, 1960. Eleanor aged. Her hair turned white. Wrinkles appeared on her face. But Robert always stayed the same. 28 years old, young, handsome. In 1965, Eleanor was 63. She had fallen ill. Her heart was weak. But she still went to the train every day. That day when Robert saw Eleanor, he was shocked. He had trouble recognizing the aged, sick Eleanor. But he recognized her by her eyes. Eleanor sent a message one last time in Morse code. IWILLALWAYSLOVEYOU. Robert responded METOOFOREVER. Eleanor died in 1973. She was 71 years old. Before taking her last breath, she whispered Robert. Today, in 2025, the Continental Express is still seen on that old railway track. But something has changed. Railway workers report this. The train now appears twice. The first, at 3:15 p.m., Robert is still at the window waiting for Eleanor. The second, at 3:18 p.m., this time there's an elderly woman at the window. Eleanor, she's also waiting for Robert. And sometimes, very rarely, both trains appear at the same time. Robert young, Eleanor old, in different time loops but still loving each other. Because true love transcends time, transcends death, transcends dimensions. The Continental Express continues its journey for 100 years on the same route. But now, it doesn't just carry passengers trapped in a time loop. It also carries two hearts that love each other forever. This was the story of the Continental Express. The story of time cracking, love becoming eternal, and two hearts finding each other even in different loops. If you enjoyed these kinds of mysterious stories, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications, because we have many more stories where time bends and love conquers death. And who knows, maybe one day you'll discover your own time loop.